Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today I want to give you 5 tips to make your drops more exciting for Psytrance. So I have 5 different elements or tips in 5 different related fields that you can apply to your drops to create more excitement in them and just to overall improve the quality of the drops. Before we get into that, I do want to say that for the last video, if you haven't seen the last video, towards the very end I propose an exercise that you can do for improving your music production quality and just your overall workflow and stuff like that. And if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that you see that. I'll leave a link to the video with the timestamp in the description so you can jump straight into the exercise. I propose that you just look at the exercise and give it a try, but to be very honest, the whole video is very good in terms of the kind of the information I give and some of the context I give as well for the exercise. So if you're interested in that, the first link should be in the description. Hey guys, I just wanted to quickly say if you want to support this channel, go to my Spotify or Apple Music. There you can follow me and add some of my songs to your daily listening playlist. Thank you very much. Let's get back into the video. Alright, so here we have the project. I'm going to show you the before and the after. Right now everything is loaded, but some of the things are disabled, which are everything that's going to be enabled when we have all these tips implemented. So let's listen to the before first. So for a nice drop, a nice idea, but there is a lot of details missing and there should be a lot more excitement to this particular production. So let's listen to what will happen if we apply the 5 tips that I have prepared for this video. So that already sounds a lot more exciting. So let's actually look at the 5 elements that I used here and the 5 tips that I'm going to give you to take your drops from that first example to the second example. So for this first tip, I have just the drums and the bass sound that this track uses. So I've turned off the lead sounds here, which was the example from before. And what I want you to notice at this moment, the way it's sounding now, is that it's lacking a little bit of the detail and the groove that you would like from a danceable track. So it's very static. There's not a lot of continuously evolving sounds and stuff like that. It's just very basic. It does its job in the sense that it's well mixed and there's some nice high-end percussion and the bass line sits nicely in the track and all that kind of stuff. But it's just kind of missing the life and the kind of the ear candy, the little details that you want in a high production track. So that sounds nice to me, but I have this group here, this particular group here is a whole bunch of drum sounds, a whole bunch of different kind of effects, foley, it's that kind of thing. So it sounds like this. So there's a few things that I want you to notice. The first thing is that there's a lot of stereo here. So I'm going to actually use a stereo meter here, which is the stereoscope, just to show you kind of how it looks when it's playing. You can see it's very wide. If we compare this to all the other drums in the group without this particular group here, then you can see that it's a lot narrower. It's a lot more mono. You can see it's a lot closer here to the mono field. So if we just add this to our other drums, you can definitely hear that there's a stereo excitement happening here. You hear that how it gets wider and it gets a lot more like presence because of that. So it sounds a lot fuller to me and it just adds a nice little bit of detail. It also just changes up the groove so once in a while. So there's these particular percussions here, this one and this one I think, which are the main groove percussions. And that together with the kick, you can already hear a groove coming in. Then we also have some high-end percussions, namely this one and this one, which plays every once in a while. And that is just to give a little bit of difference to some of the hi-hats, so that it sounds like there's different variations to the hi-hat. So you can hear that really sits in the top end. And then finally we have another top end kind of loop that I found, which is like a little percussive, very high end kind of thing. So that all together gives us drums and bass lines that sound like this. Now, if we add the lead back in here, you can see our original lead. Let's look at the MIDI. You can see the difference already here with the MIDI below. That's what I'm going to talk about. But you can see these are all the same note, all 16th notes. And it's not sounding bad. It's definitely a cool like effect how it sits together with the bass line. So if you just listen to the bass line and the kick and that lead sound. You can hear how the lead sound almost is sitting on top of the bass line, and it's forming like an extra layer, an extra click to it, and just adds a little bit more definition to the transient of it as well. But it's not really special. What you can do as a tip is to variate the notes of the lengths of the notes here. And what you can see I've done is I've created this 1 bar pattern here, and then I've just duplicated that over to the next bar and the next bar and so on. So this is basically the same pattern over and over again, each bar here. So you don't only have to do really this thing, or maybe if you want to be even more repetitive and more forceful on the rhythm, what you could do is just do like half a bar. So now with this difference in lead, it just sounds to me a lot more exciting because of the kind of movement variance that you have throughout the lead line. So this is accomplished purely by changing the lengths of the notes. There's no notes added, there's no notes removed. So you can experiment with it even more, maybe add or remove some notes from the pattern just to make it a little bit more exciting. I did want to keep it based on this 16 note rolling pattern kind of thing. So I didn't do it for this example, but you could definitely try to do something like that and maybe it will sound good as well. The second tip that I have in terms of the leads here is to add some gritty, almost like background leads that sit well with what is happening in the track. So if we listen to just the lead line here with this second one engaged, you can hear how it's kind of adding a little bit of rhythm to it. And I've programmed this lead line in such a way that it also sits well with the percussions. So let's actually listen to specifically this one and this one here. And let's hear what it's doing in relationship to those percussions. You can hear how it's like interacting with the percussions in a way. So that's one of the important parts, is that this kind of these gritty extra synths, that they have some kind of relationship with something else that's happening in the track. So in this case, our lead sound isn't that interesting. I could decide to do what I've done in some cases, and for example here is that I've layered them with a long note. So if we have 2 long notes playing, so in this case this one is also fairly long, then it kind of enforces this particular note here. But this is also enforced with the percussion. So the main idea for this one was to take the percussion pattern and kind of extend it. You can see these 2 notes here accentuating are the same as these and these ones. And I just kind of added this second one here, which just adds a little bit more variation over time because it's not all the time there. with that together and everything we've had before, we have a track that already sounds a lot more exciting, and mainly it sounds like this. The next thing that I want to talk about is using pad sounds to your advantage and to kind of fill up the ambience of the drop. So here I have two pad sounds which sound like this. We have a vocal based pad, which I'll play from here. So it's this kind of very lush reverby based effect sound, and then we have this one as well. So this just adds a little bit of ambience to the track, and now you have to kind of imagine it looping here. So I'll actually loop it for this demonstration when I'm also going to engage these pad sounds here. And then we'll listen to everything together. I'll collapse it a little bit so you can see a little bit more what's going on. Otherwise it might be a bit hard to understand here. So this is the full project, and we'll listen to it with the pads now and just listen to kind of the ambience that those pad sounds creates, also when it's looping back at the end of this one. And the final thing you would want in such a thing, which is going to be tip number 5 here, is to add some kind of movement through rising effects. So I have here one rising effect and one downlifting effect. So the way this works, again, looping, is that this one just kind of slides into this one, and then this one kind of exhales it again. But you can see there's always some kind of noise going on here. Now these are samples that I've created myself. This is going to be from a sample pack that I will release in the future. There still need to be extra work done on this sample pack. There's a lot of unfinished stuff there. So that's a future project. But for now, let's just listen to them the way they sound. And then I'll play the full context of the track again, so you can hear the final result. So you can hear how they're kind of taking down the hype and then building it, the hype, the energy of the track up again. So this point here where it kind of changes from the riser to the downlifter really gets emphasized by that, which you can really hear again when the loop is coming in. So we'll listen to this again in a loop. And this is the final result of having everything together that we've discussed. So I'm going to close this up all nicely. And this is the final project, so let's play it. So of course this is an 8-bar example. What you would want to do is to extend all of these ideas for multiple bars. You would add more effects, different effects, more pads, different pad sounds. Maybe add some more leads that play once in a while, just kind of one with a long release tail. And that's everything you need to take a very simple drop, which was just some drums, a bass and one lead sound, and turn it into a very exciting drop, which is sounding a lot more professional and a lot higher quality in my eyes, at least. So yeah, that's going to be the video for today. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps the channel out a lot, both liking and subscribing. There's also ways you can support me. The main way to do that is by going to my Spotify or my Apple Music page or whatever streaming service that you have, and looking me up as an artist. Links for Spotify and iTunes are in the description. And then adding some of your songs to a playlist that you listen to regularly. I'm really trying to get those platforms up and just a little bit higher numbers, so I can present myself to actual record labels. So that's what I'm busy with mainly. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.